So our next presentation is on the Florida DOT multimodal mobility measures and trends. Tag team of Jessica VandDenBogaert and Rafael Amarillo. And I guess you're going to start off, Rafael? Oh, okay. So Jessica currently serves as the Emerging Transportation Coordinator at the Florida Department of Transportation. In this role, she's responsible for modernizing legacy programs, including the Customer Survey Program, External Factors Monitoring Program, and the development of the online home for the FDOT Source Book. She's an active member of the TRB Task Force on Knowledge Management and a friend to a number of other committees. Her professional background is in transportation communications, writing and branding, and marketing, although the degrees hanging on the office wall say history. And Rafael is an associate of Cambridge Systematics with a background in data analytics, performance management, and data governance. He has hand-on knowledge with various data sources such as vendor probe speed data, weigh and motion data, crash data, HPMS, state DOT linear referencing systems as well. Helping the Florida DOT in its efforts to improve statewide mobility performance measures program, he's contributed with technical work using various sources of data such as as a coordination of stakeholders, developing data collection practices and partnerships. And for the FDOT Mobility Measures team, Rafael has helped to advance efforts in the development of speed-based measures and data integration and visualization. Okay, over to you.
Oh gosh, yes, I have to stand in one place and speak into a microphone. It's really hard. So, hi everybody. As Justin mentioned, I'm Jessica VandDenBogaert with Florida Department of Transportation. And I'm here to talk to you guys today about the efforts that we're making to turn all of the data that we have at the department into information and then ultimately turning it into knowledge. For people out in the world, our planners in the districts, our consultant community can actually use a lot of the data that we have. So to understand where we're going, you have to understand a little bit about where we've been. So 2000 was the first publication of the FDOT Highway Data Source Book, and I say publication very loosely. This is an Excel file that was updated every year. It had a lot of highway data information, centerline miles by jurisdiction, things like that, and a very small section for mobility performance, VMT, person miles traveled, a little bit of delay, things like that. It was an Excel file. There was a lot of tables and a couple of graphs and this kind of built-in Excel functionality that they had at the time. It was used really internally, not the prettiest thing to look at, but it got the job done. That rattled along for about 10 years until they migrated to Microsoft Word, and highway data and mobility performance got split into two source books. So they each got to kind of live on their own. They were a published document at this time, though it was still Microsoft Word, pretty limited in its technology. Lots of tables, some real simple graphs, but again, functional. 2 years ago, we decided to get a little fancier. So the FDOT Source Book, as it's officially known, moved into Adobe InDesign. It got a lot prettier. Our visualization stepped up quite a bit there. We put multiple data lines into one chart while still conveying the message of what that number was doing, what that performance measure was doing. And we also added a section on what we call external factors. These are the external factors that are causing the mobility performance to change, the things that we don't get to control, things like the economy with GDP, visitor population, things like that. So those all got visualized together to try and give some meaning to what's happening on the roadway. It's still a print document. It's about 170 pages. It's a beast. But we did add some interactivity in the PDF to link back to all of those tables that still exist. They're just in the appendix. So you can click, go to contents, go to data, flip back and forth to make it a little more useful. So this year, we've been working on taking this source book and making it more useful. The first thing we did was we went and talked to lots of partners and stakeholders, all 7 districts, all 27 MPOs, a lot of our consultant team. And overwhelmingly, they asked for this information on a lower geographic level. We have statewide information, which I think someone said verbatim, this is great in a presentation, but what you gonna do for me? So we said, okay, we can do that. We have it all down to the segment level, we just don't show it, so let's show it. And by doing that, by going digital, by moving to the web, we can do that. That would be impossible to do in a PDF. So in the digital source book, the measure is presented first at a statewide level. Excuse me. So, 29.6 million truck miles traveled. Great, cool. What does that mean for me in District 6 in Miami? So once the user gets to that measure, they can then pick a lot of parameters to show what's useful for them, whether it's peak hour or daily or a specific county, multiple counties, multiple districts, and the measure recalculates on the fly to show them the information that they're actually looking for. And then we also, where possible, some of these measures don't go down to the segment, but where possible, we mapped it down to the segment level on ArcGIS. So you can see what's going on in the state in a specific location. Our state varies dramatically from the very rural panhandle down to southeast Florida. That is lots of red, lots of blob all the time. We are still in final, I forgot. One of the things that we did on the segment side that I thought was pretty neat, when you click on each individual segment, you can make it to the segment dashboard, which shows you all of the measures for that segment in one place. So you can see what's going on for the last 3 years. And it also compares that segment to the county, district, and statewide average for that measure. So I happened to pick a pretty congested spot on I-95 in Palm Beach County, so you can see that segment is very high compared to the rest of the state, district, county. So we're still in final development. We're scheduled to be released in early 2020 to correspond with the release of the paper source book. I've given a couple of sneak peeks to some of our focus groups, and they've all been really excited about it. They're excited to have information down to the level that they actually need to do their job. And that's what I think is the best part about this project. It's cool, it's fun. It's fun for me to geek out in graphic design branding land and talk about colors and fonts and let's make this pretty. But ultimately, we're using technology and visualization to make our planners' jobs easier. They don't have to start from scratch in that data gathering phase. We've got it, we just have to put it in a format that you can use it. And so speaking of data, one of the things that struck me while I was kind of putting this together, when we were working on this project, I was looking at one of the layers in the GIS tool, I think for delay, and there was one segment in a corner in Jacksonville. It was bright red, like tons of delay in this one little corner. And it made no sense. Everything around it was fine. What's going on? So I zoomed in and looked at it a little closer. That segment was actually mislabeled as an arterial. So the threshold for delay was different, made it seem like it was really a giant bottleneck, when really it was a data problem. And if we hadn't have visualized all of these segments, we would have never found it. So I thought that was an interesting little, it's the power of visualization. It helps you see your data and help you see the problems in it. Being transparent about the performance of our system all the way down to the segment level is really important for us as planners, and it's also important for our decision makers as they're making these big investment decisions. It helps them really see and give some insight into the problems that our system is facing and what we can do to make it that much better. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to turn it over to Raphael, who helped us build this beast, and he'll talk about some of the tools and structure and give you a little demo.
Thanks. So I'll just talk briefly about the tools that we use for developing this website. We try to incorporate multiple tools to be as effective as possible. So here, those are the 3 things that we used. We use Tableau, we use ArcGIS Online, and HighCharts. Tableau, as Jessica was alluding to, it enables us to, it's hard for us to know exactly what sort of geographic scale somebody needs your measure in. So you can always try to provide things at a county level or a district level, but what if people want a combination of 3 counties together to visualize the total delay? So by using Tableau, we can enable kind of that customization at the consumer's end, at the user's end. So we use Tableau for that. We also use ArcGIS Online for all the segment level visualizations, and then for a lot of the kind of data that doesn't have as much granularity that is reported at statewide level, we found high charts to be the most effective. So let me step back for a second. I'm gonna show you guys a live demo of how the website is looking like right now. So it basically this is how it looks. Maybe it's better if I show the This is how it looks right now. This is the home page, the landing page, and we have structured the website in 3 main components that follow closely how the print source book is. So we have a section on mobility performance measures. That has been the bread and butter of the mobility performance measures program at FDOT. And then we have this second section, what Jessica was saying, the external factors. So looking at the interactions between transportation and other things like environment, the economy, tourism, and all of that. And then an additional resource page. So we have this navigation button here, and then we also have this panel that we use to navigate easily. So if you have a particular mode that you want to go to, you can choose the mode from here. Or if you have a particular measure within that mode, you can choose that as well. So let's say that I'm somebody, say in Broward County, interested in truck-related measures. What if I look at that? What it will take me, and this, by the way, we develop both the dashboards as well as the website itself. What will take you is a section for truck-only measures. The first of which will be truck miles traveled, and you will have a simple explanation of what that means. We will have a little methodology kind of overlay that shows you how it was calculated. I'll get to the segment level in a minute, but this is the Tableau dashboard, so you can easily see here, have a glance of the statewide pattern. Here we're showing percent change in truck miles traveled between 2014 to 2017. And you can see how some counties had negative growth and some counties had a positive growth. So you may want to, if you're interested, drill down further. On the right side panel, we divide this summary into both area type, mainly urban and non-urban, and then facility type, which is freeway. And then in Florida, we separate non-freeways between arterials and highways based on how the signal density. So if I'm interested, again, if I'm interested in Broward County, I can just select my one county, and then the dashboard will update itself to show you how the trend looks, the multi-year trend, and the composition between urban and rural and facility type. I may want to drill a little bit further into, say, St. John's County here. It had the lowest growth, negative growth of close to 20% on that. So I may want to see what's happening, how the pattern is. And then if I'm more interested in knowing, this is a measure that does have segment level segmentation. So if I want to look at this even further granularly, I would click this button here, which would take me to an overlay of an ArcGIS Online web map and show me how that specific measure looks along the roads that we're analyzing. So if you hover over the segments, you'll have you see in the top right corner, a quick kind of summary of key attributes, what network it belongs to, what are the mileposts, that's an internal Florida DOT reference system, number of lanes, ADT, and if I can also select a segment and then compare it to a different segment and have those two comparisons. Moreover, and this is shown in what Jessica was showing in the static version of this, you have a segment level trend, so you can analyze if you're particularly interested in this particular segment, and then you have a comparison, so you can add two segments together if you want and compare them on this comparison chart. And lastly, you have this dashboard that I won't go into it since Jessica already explained it, but you see, it puts things into context. If this particular segment is way above average or way below average, you will see that very easily, both compared to the county, the district, and the state. So hopefully that gives a lot of context to see whether that is really a problematic segment or if all the segments in that county seem to have lots of delay. So that's here, this is just one measure, but we have multiple modes, multiple measures in the source book, and we're kind of filling them up. Right now, our first kind of test implementation of this website has a limited version of them. So in the truck version, we have 4 measures total. And then, so that's the performance measure. And then you have also the trends for external factors. Oh, by the way, let me quickly go. I'll just show you a non-roadway. So this program is a multimodal program. It doesn't always only deal with roadway kind of generated data, but also with other modes. We have bike and ped, we have seaport, we have freight, kind of international freight movement. So in this case, if I'm the person in Broward County and I'm interested in how my port is doing compared to other ports in the state, I can easily see both the growth of passengers, this is just passenger trips, as well as how, just the relative size or the relative share, market share from Florida. So I otherwise need to just show quickly. And then let me go just quickly, go to some of the trends. So the trends again are things that showing kind of interactions between transportation and something else. In this case, we shape them into storylines. So we're trying to kind of guide the reader, not just provide the data points, but give a little bit of context. And in this case, we're showing the percent growth in both Florida and the US for VMT versus population versus licensed drivers. And we can see how, if you look at these 2 charts, this purple line is the VMT. And you can see how the immediately following the recession, Florida was hit a lot harder than the rest of the country in how the economy affected travel activity. It also shows some depression in the amount of licensed drivers. So new drivers that were getting their licenses, it decreased, whereas in the United States it kept going. This section is meant to provide kind of a background and context into why some of the measures that they were seeing may be behaving that way. We're just showing additional context there. So let me just jump into another one. In this case, we know transportation and environment always have lots of interconnectivity. And in this case, we're showing how the CO2 emissions in Florida, it has flatlined despite the fact that we have continued growing in travel. The trend at the national level is less so, but you do see that the fuel consumption, at least in those 2 last years, was kind of flat despite the fact that travel was increasing. So that just kind of helpful information to provide context to what you're seeing. So with that, let me quickly, I don't know how we're doing on time. Okay, so I'll quickly go to just some of the challenges and lessons learned that we've learned in the past, in case you're interested in that. But we, as Jessica alluded, we've always had this data at a granular level, but we really hadn't shared it at a granular level. We always aggregated it statewide. And that's kind of easy, and a lot of the mistakes can be hidden. We didn't know that the state inventory had erroneously mislabeled one road, labeled it as arterial versus freeway. And so you can hide a lot of kind of ugliness in the sausage making progress, and now when you're putting it all out there, you can see a little bit kind of, your dirty laundry comes out a little bit more. So one thing that we have faced is that the data quality aspect that has been helpful to ensure that. And another one is that if we're gonna start providing segment level trends, that's hard because our segmentation does change. It can be somewhat dynamic. Every year is not the same. And so now we have to get together and figure out whether we freeze those segments to calculate measures at that level, or whether we should just continue the dynamic nature of them, but then maybe not show multi-year trends. And then as far as future improvements, we some of our stakeholders are MPOs. They are big consumers of this product, and as Frank is saying, yes, some MPOs they don't align with the county borders. So that is a challenge because the internal Florida DOT system it doesn't easily enable that kind of sub-county segmentation. And then Tableau also, it performs a lot faster when you're looking into the predefined geographies. If you try to load up lots of shapefiles that are not kind of built in Tableau, it kind of becomes a lot more clunky. So we're looking into new ways to try to show sub-county performance measures. And lastly, we are also looking into maybe have some sort of customized report. So Jessica showed you the history of the source book. We always show these statewide trends, but we're thinking, well, if you're in Broward County and if you're only interested in Broward County, is there a button you can click and kind of generate an entire suite of measures just for you? Right now, you will have to kind of click and select what you want. So those are things that we're looking into the future as we embarked on this adventure. So thank you. Happy to take any questions for either of us.
I've got to say, I'm excited to see you actually going online and getting to the sub-level. One thing to note, Florida, if you want to know how to measure mobility, Florida has done a better job than anybody in the world in terms of defining a matrix of, are you looking at people movement or freight movement, what, across all of these different modes, across 4 different dimensions. Right. And all of that data is really important, and this is the first step to making that really useful. So, congratulations for doing that.
Thanks, Frank.
I think we had a question on the other side.
Yeah. Is this going to be available to the public?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
FDOTSourcebook.com.
Okay.
Coming up in January, we hope. Yeah.
Okay. And how are you serving up the Tableau visualizations?
Repeat the question, sorry?
The Tableau visualizations, are those on your server or are those on?
Those are on Cambridge Systematics, Tableau license and server. But the good thing of that is that you can just kind of generate it's almost like uploading a YouTube video in a website. You just give an embed code and you easily integrate it into the website. So,
okay.
Yeah.
2 quick questions. One, are you going to maintain the PDF document going forward?
We are.
Okay.
There's some discussion on whether it continues to live as a 200-page monster,
Right.
or if it turns into some kind of executive summary.
Okay.
But for now, the PDF lives.
Okay.
Some of our customers really like to print it and
They'd like to hold it
look
and
at
touch
it.
it.
Okay. And then the second question is, what was like the business case you made to management to build this website? Because I'm about to make the same pitch.
We talked to lots of people and we recorded them asking for it.
Okay.
Because, well, one of the reasons it took us 20 years and lots of meetings is one of the vagaries of the FDOT budgeting system. They don't like to pay for websites.
Right.
So we had to basically go out to our customers, to these districts, to the MPOs and say, hey, what do you want? And they said, we want a website, we want our data, we want to see it. And it took a lot of them asking for it and a lot of see, I told you guys, before I got them to say yes.
I would add to that there was a previous philosophy before in FDOT that we calculated things at a statewide level and we wouldn't mess up with the locals. And they may have better data than us, and so there was a fear that if we put out, say, probe speed data generated measures, if they had Bluetooth sensors, maybe they would complain that their data is better than ours. But so it took some change to kind of have a shift to say, you know what, this is still helpful information. If we could put a little disclaimer saying that this is not like the end of all, this is not the holy grail, it's just, the best of the
that was one of the things we had to make sure we did in those meetings was, one of our districts, they do have Bluetooth detectors all over town. So their data is better than ours. And so we told them, by all means, if you have better data, use it, that's great. But these are for our smaller MPOs that don't have any data or anything like that. We have to help everybody. Good luck.